happen every second time.
Yeah.
I mean, some kind of format problem, but so we just throw up some of these old-fashioned banners instead, and you know, just get on with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, all good.
Oh, that's
Still
awesome.
alive.
Yeah, exactly. We're all breathing.
Yeah, barely, you know. But, yeah. No, this is big.
I've heard some of the new singles that are going to be on the new record, so I wanted to know if you wanted to talk a little bit more about it. The sound has been changed up so much, and I just love how you change up your sound every so often, and everything's so different.
Yeah, that's just like something that happens naturally, you know. I just make music and kind of like, you know, I let the music give me the ideas, and then I just kind of go with it. You know what I mean? Like it sounds a little, what's even the word for that? You know, I forget the word for it, but whatever. I make myself sound like an artiste.
Yeah.
I try not to be like that, but you know, I don't really work with you know, strict guidelines. This is going to be such and such an album. I just start with, you know, noises or loops or drums or a melody or whatever, that just sort of takes me wherever that goes, you know, and then whatever happens, and we're all surprised at the end.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the way I do it.
With lyrics, how do you have your lyrics come to you? Like, what are a lot of your influences? Is it based on like life events? Is it like a mix of everything?
Life events can definitely inspire, and certainly has done on this record, you know. But a lot of times a lyric doesn't necessarily come together like, you know, beginning to end.
Yeah.
It could be, I could be out driving my car, and something just pops into my head, you know, a couple of cool lines, and something that feels meaningful, and I just write that down quickly, like a notepad app or something like that, you know, on my phone, and I pull it out 5 years later. Wow, that really works, and this little piece of music I'm working on feels like these words will go together there, and that might inspire additional lyrics, you know, or even music. So it's all a sort of like, you know, piece by piece kind of process, and of course you try to make sure that the lyrics actually maintain some kind of meaning at the end of it, because it really does, like I said, it doesn't all come together in 5 minutes. But you want, at the same time, you want to sing something that kind of makes sense. So yeah, again, there's no fixed way of doing this.
Yeah.
It's all piece by piece.
What would you say inspired you to start making music in the first place?
Start making music?
Yeah.
It sounded like you said stop making music.
No, stop making music.
I was a fan, you know. I was a kid, and I grew up with the Kiss and Wasp and all those big image bands, and I was like, man, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen, you know. Like, because I'm old enough to remember Wasp's first album, you know, when that came out, like in '84. I was like 9 years old, and I felt like these guys are way cooler than Kiss, you know.
Yeah.
So you know, it was just like, man, I want to do that. That's what I want to do, and that's what I ended up doing. I mean, not at the Blackie Lawless level of success and talent, but I mean, I'm doing my thing, you know. So, yeah, '80s hard rock music.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
How old were you when you started getting into making music and first learned an instrument?
Well, I mean, my first band, I was actually a singer, if you can call it that. Death metal back in 1990, and by '91, my friends, you know, Ishan and Samoff, they had their bands, and they wanted to start like more like a black metal thing, and I kind of played bass in a Doom band a few months before that. So and back in those days, there wasn't a scene. You didn't have a lot of people to choose from. Like, okay, who do we pick here? There's nobody. So maybe that's why they chose me. Who knows? No, we were good friends. You know, we were hanging out. We were all teenagers, going to the same school and stuff like that. You know, so yeah, they wanted me to play bass, and I was like, well, I wasn't really sure, but like a little convincing, and so that's pretty much how I got started. Yeah. But of course, you know, once after a year or so, I got fired from Emperor because I had a bad temper, and so I kind of put the bass away because I wasn't passionate about it. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I was really getting into keyboard-based music, so I walked down to the local music store, and just bought a Roland keyboard, carried it back home, and just started making music, and you know, here I am.
Yeah. I have to ask too, as someone that wasn't alive back when everything happened, like in the scene and everything, how did you first react?
To what?
to like finding out specifically about Faust murdering
All that
the
stuff.
guy in Lillehammer?
We didn't have much of a reaction.
Yeah.
We were pretty desensitized at that point. You know, stuff had already happened, and so when we found that out, I mean, you know, it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was not a. It was that. It's nothing I would recommend anyone ever.
Yeah.
You know, none of us would ever recommend, you know, creating another part 2 of that kind of scene. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just stick to the music, and you know, that's it.
Is it part of what made you want to distance from the black metal scene at all and transition into making other music?
I'm sorry.
Was it part of anything like that made you want to transition into making other music than black metal and not as like heavy, more of like the dungeon synth? Was it like kind of something that turned you away from it?
The events?
Yeah.
No, not at the time. I mean, but as you get older, you start realizing, like, yeah, that was just a bunch of really bad ideas. You know, like, none of that really. It didn't make music better. I mean, you know, it's for sure it creates a mystique, and I'm sure there's a fascination.
Yeah.
For the mythology of Norwegian and Swedish black metal. In regards to the early history of it, you know, for people around the world that weren't there, weren't born, and all that. I can see that, but you know, it's like the Charles Manson cult. I mean, did it have to happen? No, it certainly didn't have to happen. You know, and I think, well, I don't know what I think really. I mean, I don't know if black metal would have been the same without all those events, without all that history attached to it.
Yeah.
But and I don't think it really made me. No, it didn't make me want to leave black metal. What actually made me bored with black metal was a few years later when it got a little watered out. Because in the beginning, when we started out, and I'm sure members of Enslaved or Mayhem, Dark Throne, Satyricon, Gorgoth, they will all say the same thing. There were nobody, in the beginning, there wasn't really anybody to rip off, so you kind of had to be original. I mean, we were kind of ripping off like Celtic Frost and Bathory and Venom, of course, and you had a couple of cool American bands like Necrophagia. And we had Blasphemy over in Canada, you know, that we were all on Sarcophago in Brazil, that we were all fans of. So we sort of ripped those off a little bit, but there weren't really a lot of it. So you kind of had to be creative, right?
Right.
But after a couple of years, like everybody started ripping us off, you know, so it got a little watered out. Oh, fuck, man, there's only 50,000 bands now doing the same thing, you know. And I don't want to sound like a dick or anything, but I mean, personally, I got a little bored with it.
Yeah.
So, you know, I drifted away from it, but by that point I was already making my, you know, sort of Dungeon Synth. It didn't have that name at the time. I mean, I gave it all kinds of weird names, but I think Dungeon Synth was like coined in 2010 or something like that. So that really had nothing to do with me, I feel. I mean, I'm attached to the whole scene, obviously, but so that is what it is. But yeah, I mean, I started making music for my first demo. The total absolute end of '92, you know, so, which was before I got bored with black metal. So, yeah. There you have it.
With your industrial releases, I feel like those are some of my favorites, especially The Grudge, Smell of Rain. I heard that with Smell of Rain, you're re-releasing it on vinyl, which
We've done that. Yeah, it's It's it only took 25 years. You know, for some reason it never got reissued and remained out of print forever. But you know, better late than never, I guess. Yeah, we even have that at merch now. And this can be like another vinyl color or something like that, for what's it called? Record Store Day.
Oh yeah.
In June, I think. So yeah, it's finally out there, and The Grudge is a great album. I mean, it's got cool songs, but I mean, the production could be better. Everything can always be better. I spend so much time in my own studio now, like I can barely look back at anything that I've done and not kind of cringe and be like, fuck, I should have done a better job, like with mixing it, or Jesus Christ, I should have had like at least some reverb on, you know, whatever. You know. But that's what happens. You know, you get better at something and you kind of look back at the older stuff and you kind of go like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I could have done a better job.
And so you are your own worst critic too.
Oh yeah, unfortunately. Yeah. So.
Are you gonna be playing any unreleased songs off of the new album tonight?
One. Yes, there will be one unreleased song, which is off of the new album. Simply because it works with the smell of rain, because it's very smell of rain themed.
Yeah.
With a few other songs added. And that song just happened to really kind of gel nicely with the smell of smell of rain sound. So yes, that's always a gamble. I've done this before,
Yeah.
where you know, you start playing stuff nobody's heard, and that it can fall pretty flat. People don't want to know what to do. I mean, what's going on? Did they like it? Did they not like it? I mean, you never know. But it seems to be, the reception seems to be pretty good for it.
Yeah.
So and dynamically works with the rest of the set list. So.
I'm so excited to hear it too, because I've heard those first few singles and I'm really a huge fan of them.
Oh, cool! Thank you. Yeah, the Ghost of Europa and Violent Silence that just came out like about a week ago, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. That we're not playing that one live. I mean, now I kind of feel like people are going to ask if I'm going to do. Why aren't you doing it? Because it's out now. But we do play Ghost of Europa live. I mean, we're opening with it. It's kind of like the only place you can put that song because it's such a soft kind of choral song, you know, with lots of voices and stuff like that. So you can't really put it after like, half an hour into the set when it starts becoming a bit more energetic, and you don't want to do that dip where you just go into this, soft, ambient, flowy type of thing, and it's kind of like an energy killer. So you had, at least in my book, you have to be a little wary of where, what order you put your songs and how you sequence your live setup, so to speak.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're doing it.
Oh, I can't wait. With your stage makeup, specifically the prosthetics, it's always fascinated me. I love the way it looks, and I was wondering what the inspiration is behind that too.
Yeah, that was Kiss, 80s big image bands, black metal in the early 90s, that sort of extreme attitude that we had in Lord of the Rings. I mean, you put that in a pot and you stir it, and basically that's Mortiis comes out, on the other end. That's the way it was. I mean, grew up in the 80s, since I loved the imagery of like Wasp and Kiss and early Motley Crue, Alice Cooper, and all of that stuff, And so you bring that fascination with those big cool bands into the early 90s when we created our black metal little milieu, and with the extreme attitude that we had at the time, which if you taught me one thing, it was like you can never go too far when it comes to ideas. So, obviously Mortiis is a pretty extreme thing image-wise. And thank you. Cut. No, it's fine. Jerome from Rome.
Sorry. I didn't see that was a camera.
Oh, you've been rude this whole tour
worries.
for me. It's like every day you sabotage something. So all of that mixed up, and then you get the Mortiis thing, of course, Lord of the Rings, and all of the orcs and all that, and that was a big thing for me in the early 90s, obviously, and I was also really into the Legend movie, the pre-Top Gun Tom Cruise movie, Ridley Scott, before he got famous. Well, Ridley Scott was famous, but Tom Cruise wasn't, I think. Blitz, that stuff. So it's all sort of, I mean, a lot of it just comes out of the 80s, a lot of my inspirations, I suppose.
Would you say that Lord of the Rings has inspired any of your music as well? I know that like Lord of the Rings and like The Hobbit, a lot of different things like that have inspired a lot of other black metal bands and just like acts in general within that realm.
Yeah, I mean, I in the early days, and specifically in 1992, I started developing this I started writing a bunch of lyrics, and they were actually meant for the first Emperor album that never happened. I was still in the band, and I started writing lyrics. A lot of them, I did 15 or 16 in the same amount of days, and they were all tied together to this sort of dark realm, which was obviously quite inspired by Tolkien.
Yeah.
But then, of course, a few months later, I was out of the band, and I said, okay, well, we already made The Black Wizards and Cosmic Keys to My Creations and Times, which are actually taken from that concept.
Yeah.
I said, all right, fair enough, you guys want to do your thing. I'm no longer in the band, but I'm taking all these lyrics with me because I want to do something with Mortiis. I want to base Mortiis around this. And that's how it started. And I just sort of expanded upon that universe for like throughout most of the 90s after that. So, which of course it was very Tolkien inspired, but after a while, when you kind of hit your stride and I just started expanding, making up like more and more crazy stuff going on in that world, and a lot of it really was just, I think I was just cultivating my mind. I was just getting tuned in to be creative in that kind of way. So I think I could have backed away from the Tolkien thing a little bit, but it certainly got me started.
Yeah.
It gave me a lot of initial ideas, and then I just started coming up with these things on my own that were like, I don't think Tolkien would have come up with this at all. They're fucked up screaming mountains and a lot of tortured souls and shit like that. Basically created a kind of like a hell. But like 5 albums I think by Mortiis were all based upon that. So, but yeah, of course, Tolkien, without Tolkien, then you wouldn't have happened.
Would you say that any of your other releases would be connected to like all of that too, like Lord of the Rings, anything like that? Later releases?
Later ones? Not so much. I mean, once I started writing The Smell of Rain, I kind of put all that, that's why I call that era 1. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but that's, once I started writing The Smell of Rain, I realized I'm really kind of removing myself from that sound and that style and that vibe.
Yeah.
I realized I actually felt a bit guilty about it because I felt like, oh shit, people are gonna think I'm just writing like another follow-up to the Stargate or something, which I wasn't. So I decided to call it Era 2, and I put that in the logo.
Yeah.
As an indicator that there's something else going on here. At least I hope people would kind of get the hint. And automatically, everything before that just became Era 1. It never said that in any of the artwork or anything like that, but it was understood, I felt, that would make that Era 1. So, but yeah, no, it was just a step in a whole different direction. I just needed to put all that stuff behind me. I had a personal thing where I started doubting the quality of my past work and all that stuff, and it made me kind of depressed and disillusioned and things like that. I mean, that's in the past, but it was something I needed a big change in my life, so I just completely did like not a U-turn, but like just completely sort of different direction musically, and I gotta do something else now. So yeah, not a lot of Tolkien in that, fortunately or fortunately, I don't know.
With your live performances, what would you say would be like your favorite, or like your best performance, if you had to say like one that you would pick out specifically? Oh God,
I don't know. I tend to kind of forget him as soon as I'm off stage. I sort of like, all right, that's that done, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've had some really cool ones in the States for sure. South America can get intense, you know. People there are really kind of like, there's a lot of energy and they're really excited that you're there. Eastern Europe, I mean, any place where, at least in the past, where, I mean, everybody goes to South America now, everybody goes to Eastern Europe now, but back in the day, I mean, fewer maybe did, so it would be a more intense experience. And yeah, we've had some really kind of hardcore punky shows in, you know, in Eastern Europe, for example, that were like, wow, that was something, you know. So we've had shows where we don't have a lot of crew on this tour, but like on other tours where like it got so intense that literally crew would have to go on stage and pour buckets of water on the audience because people were passing out. It was just getting kind of
wild.
Yeah, it's memorable and but it's also kind of dangerous, you know, when it gets warm to that point where you're passing out from dehydration. You don't want people to die on the show, you know.
Right.
That would not be good.
It's like, please drink some water.
Well, or fucking get some air conditioning in this fucking venue, you know, stuff like that. It's memorable. I mean, I'm not sure if people passing out with cannons is a good show. It's certainly memorable.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen some crazy stuff like that. So, but I don't know. I mean, I'm mostly happy with all the shows.
Yeah.
You know, you have the occasional kind of dud. You know, we're like, oh, I don't know why you're doing this, but you know, I couldn't pick a favorite. Kind of difficult.
How would you say it's been touring with EUROPA? Have you toured with them previously or like known them before touring with them?
No, this is the first tour we do together. I've known of them, of course. I've seen their name around, and so when that came up through my agent, hey, you know, there's a tour going on. Would you be interested in being part of it? And I was like, what? Yeah, fuck, I heard about those guys. And quick research, you know, and I'm like, yeah, I think that could work.
Yeah.
So, I'm having a great time. They use a lot of smoke. There's a lot of fog on stage when those guys are up there. So, you know, I think it's a good fit too. I mean, I think the whole thing is a good fit because you got Wraith Night opening with Dungeon Synth.
Yeah.
It's always nice to have a little bit of, because I mean, I'm not really doing Dungeon Synth anymore. I did it for a long time, and now I'm moving past it for at least for the time being. So you got Wraith Night opening, then into Rome, which is like a very atmospheric kind of set, you know, very nice acoustic guitar and singing and sort of folksy and European. And it segues nicely into the beginning of the Mortiis show, and then we start upping the energy quite a lot towards the end, which segues beautifully into what EUROPA is doing. So there's a whole sort of organic vibe and like a ramp throughout the whole show, which was sort of unplanned for. We just all realized it after a couple days. Hey, wait a minute, this is like a cool energy ramp happening here, you know, for the whole fucking for the whole show. So, yeah, it's all good.
How have the first few shows been on the tour?
The first few shows? Yeah, good. I was nervous because I hadn't done this lead singer type of thing. I haven't. When we did the first show of the tour, well, it feels like it's half a year ago, but it's only like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Time on tour passes in a weird way. You don't experience life in the same way as you do when you're at home. It's strange to be on tour. I was very, very nervous because, first of all, I didn't have a lot of time to practice as much as I wanted to before we left. I had to finish so many things. 3 different records in a way I had to finish and mix and master and fucking artwork and do all that. It drove me crazy.
Yeah.
And so I only had about a month to prepare for the tour. In the end, I wanted to have 2, but it just wasn't, there was no time. So even like the day before I, you know, walked on the plane, I was still fucking up lyrics.
Yeah.
And I hadn't done this type of show in like 9 years. So I wasn't even sure if I was gonna have like a cool voice, like am I gonna sound good singing?
Yeah.
I have no idea how this is gonna go. So, you know, getting up on stage, what was the first show in Portland? I was like, God damn it, man, I don't know if this well, I guess we'll see in 5 minutes, you know, and it worked out. But I wasn't sure if, like, you know, I do some rock moves and shit like that, and I was like, do I still have it? My body hurts more now than it did 9 years ago. I'm getting older too. I'm almost 51 years old. So, which is not really that old, but like, you know, your joints are kind of letting you know that you're not 22 anymore.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, God, can I do this? So, but it's been all right. I'm in constant pain, but it's okay. Once you're on stage, your adrenaline takes over, you know, so you don't feel anything. But you wake up the next day like, oh my fuck, you know?
Yeah.
But then you get up and you do it again. So I'll be dead in a year. I would hope not. I have kids.
Let's hope that doesn't
Oh
happen.
God, no. It was a joke. That's bad.
I just appreciate you so much taking the time to talk to me today. Like when I found out that they wanted me to talk to you and everything, I just got so excited because I really do look up to you a lot.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you very much.
I'm just extremely excited to see the show too, because the last time that you were here with Mayhem, I missed it. So when I saw that you were coming to Brighton, I was like, I need to go.
Right. Yeah, I mean, last year that would have been the last tour I did as a Dungeon Synth artist. I still did the, you know, sort of 90s stuff. I mean, there's obviously a lot of tracks going on and then performances like that. So I think I did a mix of my first and second record for that tour. I can't quite remember now.
Yeah.
I think that was it, but that was a cool tour. It was great. This is a whole totally different tour. Completely different. But I'm enjoying this one.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you.